Welcome back, everybody, to the Nerds Only podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
No, we're keeping it. Hey,
Oh no!
all those Cosmere fans we were about to get, they're gone, and it's your fault.
They all said,
Or-
I like that.
Or we got even more.
We got all the fart fans. Now we have a weird fandom.
The fans of farts.
So
Hello.
sorry. Yes, please continue.
I'm your hairiest host, Mother Goose.
I'm your inconsistent host, Cosmar.
I'm a host also. I'm Jeremiah.
What's your name?
Who
Or
are
no, what's your
you?
tag? What's your tag?
Why are you in my
my
house?
my handle, if you will.
I don't want to hear about your
Jarhead.
handles.
Sure.
No. You're like, I'm the inconsistent host. He's the hairiest host. What are you, the nerdiest host?
What
I'm
are
in-
you, the sexiest host?
I'm the birthiest host, as it was my birthday a couple weeks ago, or days ago. How about that?
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Okay.
And then I'm the fourth host. I'm Kylee, and I don't know, I guess my Discord is Kai Brook, so there you go. I'm the womanliest host.
Actually,
You got news for us, Joey?
I got boobs now.
Hey,
Whoa.
I love you and support you.
My bad. I'll come up with a different host title.
I'm the womanliest host. The womanliest host.
Yes.
In all fairness, Joey does have some fat titties.
Oh yeah.
Darn,
Okay.
I don't know what other identifier to go as.
Your only identifier is that you're a woman.
I am.
Not even a little bit.
I was gonna say craftiest, but I'm not, because everybody in this group also crafts and does cool stuff.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
they
know.
don't crochet like 5 hours a day like you do. I think
That
that's
is true.
fair.
Yeah.
You are a killer crocheter.
Be the
Crochetist?
The crochetist host.
The crotches.
It's a hot topic. It's a hot topic on what we're actually called. Yeah.
This is important. Okay.
Well, so today we're going to be talking about Dragonsteel Nexus. But before we get into it, this is going to be completely spoiler-free. Just want to touch base with everyone. How far are you into Wind and Truth?
I have not begun. We have been so busy, and I want to give my mind the right headspace for this wonderful book and story, so I have not begun.
I'm on day 3 of Wind and Truth, and a certain character is looking for some lost sheep.
I'm in Rhythm of War. In my reread, I haven't started Wind and Truth yet, but I've been hardlining it straight into my veins, like 8 to 10 hours a day.
Hell yeah. You're almost there.
I am.
Okay.
How about you, Elijah? How far are you with the truth?
I am about 2 or 3 chapters into day 5.
Ooh.
I've been really trying to get through it. I have a buddy who literally, like, Sunday after it came out was like, hey, have you finished Wind and Truth yet? This man is a beast.
Can I inquire as to the identity of this man?
Yeah, this is my friend Seth. He's really cool. He's got a YouTube channel, Setherton or Sethertron. I apologize, I can't remember off the top of my head. If you guys want to check him out. He's also appeared on several Animal Squadron podcast episodes.
Oh, the cool podcast. Not cool, not as cool as this one.
All right. I don't know what you mean by that, but all right.
What do you
Oh, I see.
mean by that?
I think the is not appropriate. A cool
Yeah.
podcast is appropriate.
Right.
team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We'll let him in here. Can we get him off the set?
I'll leave.
Hey, Joey.
I'll leave right
Don't
now.
Cut
go.
it out.
Don't go, Joey.
I did have a question. When you say spoiler free, is that like books 1 through 5, like the entire?
Okay, so specifically, I was talking about just for our Wind and Truth quick little update where we are.
Okay.
I wanted the fans to know that they were safe from spoilers, but I also wanted us as a group to know, like, we're also safe from each other.
No spoiling for anybody.
But I think moving forward into Dragonsteel, aside from Wind and Truth, I think most Cosmere things are on the table. We'll kind of, not all of us have completely finished the Cosmere, so we'll kind of play it by ear. But I think just as a safe rule of thumb, most things are on the table unless we specify otherwise.
Yeah, so
Okay.
viewers, spoiler warning. If you haven't started the Cosmere and you do not want spoilers, there will probably be some.
But also start the Cosmere.
But yeah, also come back after you've read some of the Cosmere because we love to talk about it. So,
It's
Mhm.
pretty much the best.
yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I've said it before, I will say it again. These novels are going to be the defining fantasy novels for like the next 50, 60 years. Not that they're the only good ones. There are lots of amazing fantasy novels, but these are literally peak.
Yeah.
Absolute cinema, as they say.
I fear this writing is fire.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dragonsteel Nexus 2024. We all gotta go. General thoughts, loved it, hated. What'd you think?
How could anyone hate it?
Real.
So good.
It was a magnificent experience.
Yeah, I mean, the hype was unreal on the way up there. If anybody got a look at the schedules for every day, it was crazy. There was like 7 things going on at all times.
Yeah.
And it got better when we got there because I'm autistic and I enjoy lists and checklists, and they
Mhm.
gave us a stamp book, a
Oh,
World Hopper passport. You go to certain places and you get a stamp. It fills a slot. You get a reward. It was the best.
they knew their audience when they did that. Like, top tier planning on all the people who got together and made that happen. So,
Yeah, they need to find someone to proofread those puzzles a little harder next year. But that's
Yeah.
literally my only criticism is that they didn't do their Sudokus right.
Yeah. I think to bounce off that, I also really enjoyed the passport. I thought it was a really cool concept. I thought the rewards for the story decks for completing pages and the pin for getting a complete blackout was cool. I will say, though, as somebody who also likes autistic checklists, I did feel a little pressured to finish, and I had to miss certain panels that I was really looking forward to because I was trying to complete the passport. So I definitely think it's a cool concept, but I do think there's some minor tweaks that they could make for next year.
Yeah, that's true. There were a lot of slots to fill up if you wanted the blackout.
Yeah.
and I think part of the trouble, at least from my side of it, was that going in, we didn't know exactly like all the different ways you could fill those slots. Like there
Mhm.
were some secret ways to get extra stamps to fill more of the book, which we didn't find out till like day 2.
Right.
When we had already missed some of the things that we wanted to go to in
Mhm.
order to fill the book, when we could have found extra ways that wouldn't have cost us panels we wanted to go to.
And
Yep.
then at the end, when they were just filling out everyone's books in the line.
Yeah.
Oh my
Day 3
gosh.
was literally, you get a stamp, you get a stamp.
Which,
Yeah.
to be fair, I think part of that was because people were waiting in that line so long.
Mhm.
People were already missing panels they could have gone to get those stamps. So I think they were like, this is not fair. You know, we can't get everyone through the line fast enough to get to all of the panels they'd need to get a
Yeah.
blackout. So I think it was wise of them to do that. But I think one of the ways they could help mitigate next time is to have more than one place that can verify your stamps so that the line isn't absurd every single time.
Yeah. And I think, so there were Ghost Bloods walking around that just gave generic stamps that could go on different planets. I think that would be a really good way to handle that, is just, like, the Ghost Bloods were secret, and that was really cool. But I think if the Ghost Bloods were a little more obvious and they had a little more room, like, each Ghost Blood could only stamp one planet.
Mhm.
It's like your Cell Ghost Blood could not stamp Scadrial. I say just make the Ghost Bloods generic. Like, if you need a stamp on Roshar or something, a Ghost Blood could stamp Roshar or Cell or Nalthus or wherever you needed a stamp just to help people out.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they wanted to keep it like specific, maybe have more people instead
Mhm.
of like one person at the con at a time for each system, and you have to go find them where they're at. It was also pretty difficult, although once like somebody found something out, the word of mouth got around really quickly.
Yeah.
But if they had 3 representatives of each planet instead of 1, I feel like that would be a lot smoother as well.
Yeah, like I was able to find all of the Ghost Bloods except for Scadrial, and I'm so mad because I missed my Scadrial Ghost Blood stamp. But I literally spent 3 hours day 2 looking for Ghost Bloods that I could have spent in the board game room or the
Mhm.
craft room or going to panels. So a really cool system, but definitely some tweaks.
Mhm.
And there were also some minor confusions with the passports since it was the first time that they had done that. There were a couple of misprints on pages. Some things weren't specifically clear. And so from the get-go, everybody was kind of chasing something that wasn't originally the plan
Yeah.
from the people who made it. So I think all of the things that happened this year will just better inform them on how to clean it up for next year.
Joey, what did you think of the stamps?
The stamp. I also slightly autistic. I was very overwhelmed by them. I remember my first day kind of being pretty rough because just the amount of people at the con, and also trying to get the
Yeah.
stamps, and also trying to see the panels, and also deciding which panels to go to because they're actually 45 minutes instead of 30 minutes, which was set on the schedule. I had an amazing time. I personally didn't really like the stamps. I think they're really cool. I think it just wasn't specifically for me. I still got the blackout, and that was neat. But I think in the future, I'm not going to do any of the checklist stuff.
Yeah.
Totally fair.
Yeah.
Which, something else on that is like, we didn't know what the reward was going to be till like the last day. So that also would have been nice to know for people that maybe getting a complete blackout wasn't worth the special pin for them, you know?
Yeah, I'm glad that we did it and got the blackout pin. I'm not sure if I would have stressed as hard as I did in the evening of day 2 and morning of day 3 about getting it if I knew what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and depending on how things shake out next year, that might determine whether or not I go for it again. Just having completed it one time, it's something that's like, oh, I did this thing, and I can always look back on that, and I don't necessarily have to do it every single year, but it's kind of nice to have done it at least once.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. For sure. Which, I think just moving on to that, because it's kind of connected, there were the story decks, which were really cool. Another thing that definitely needs some tweaks on how they do it, which we can talk about here in a minute, but does anyone want to explain what the story decks were for somebody that may have missed it?
All right.
Yeah.
How about you do it?
Joey needs more screen time.
Yeah, more talking on here. So the story decks basically numbered, there was 52 cards for 3 stories, I believe. 54 cards
sorry.
for each story. Man, harshen my spotlight, Elijah, okay? I'm sorry. No, I'm just kidding. But there was a story about Yasna, a story about Lopen and Elokar, and a story about Chasm Friends. And so basically you got these packs, like, you get Pokemon card packs or Magic the Gathering packs, and you'd open them up, and you'd get a random assortment of cards. So it was really cool because they did a really good job they made it so that people would be more encouraged to go and talk to each other, which I think they did really well. Like, people were going around and saying, hey, do you have any 8s? And each card would be like a page of the story. So you could have like cards 1 through 7, but you're missing, 8 through 9. So you go around looking like, hey, does anyone have 8 through 9? And they also had heralds. So that was pretty cool. But that's kind of the system of how it worked.
And it was
Yeah.
9 heralds, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
9.
Yeah, and I was telling Jerry this last night or 2 nights ago. There are 10 heralds, and I didn't realize that. Like, I just didn't think about it at the con, and it's really bothering me because I'm not sure which herald got left out.
I think it
so
might have been
strange.
the War Herald, maybe. I'm not super sure.
Interesting.
My initial thought was, okay, maybe it's Tom.
That's what I was thinking
because-
too.
But Tom definitely is a card. And then I thought, oh, maybe it was Jezreel because of what happens to him in book 4. He's definitely a card.
Are you? I believe that there's 10 heralds, but I am going to just double check real quick. Maybe we're wrong.
No,
This guy's gonna try and actually me.
I'm pretty sure there was a herald for each order.
Yeah.
That is fair. And there are 10 orders, huh?
And because that's kind of that's a minor plot point about, there's 10 heralds, it's symmetrical, it's an even number, and then the other group of leaders for the other faction, there's an odd number of them.
Mhm.
It's unholy.
Okay, so I looked it up, and on the trading cards, somebody has listed what the names are, so I'm just gonna read them. We've got Jezrien as Herald 1, Nail as 2, Shanarek as 3, Videl as 4, Pylea as 5, Shalash as 6, Batar as 7, Kalek as 8, Telenel as 9, and Ishar as 10.
There were 10 cards?
Yeah. Apparently, there are 10.
But
I don't know if there's 10 cards. There's 10 heralds.
Well, it
Yeah, 10
showed the art that was used on the Herald cards.
I will say there was at least, because I got that shiny herald, and it was a 9 out of 9.
That's the one that's put on here as number 10, Ishar.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I also have an Ishar who's listed as 9 of
So,
9. That's
there
really
must
weird.
be one of these that got in there as a secret.
Ooh.
I think
Secret
I think there's maybe a secret herald.
So the reason they went with the number 54 is because it could be divided by 9.
Mm.
So that when you have a card binder, most of them are 3x3 of 9 slots. Right. So what's really cool about these cards is, like Joey said, there's the story side where if you collect all of them, you get a story. But the back half is a piece of art that when put together, you get multiple pieces of art. How's the right way to phrase this? They all come together, so you get artwork. And that was really cool, too.
I was wrong. This is actually a Herald cheat sheet. The art that was on the cards is actually the art from one of the books. So the art that was used on the cards is from the books. So I'm not sure which one of these is the one that's missing, but one of these on the list is the one that's missing.
Gotcha. Anyway, stories, heralds. There was also no nonsense cards, which were the way Brandon and Dan talked about it is they had different versions of the story, but they were wacky versions that Hoyd had messed with.
That's funny.
And these were your alternate art cards.
100% complete nonsense.
I did not worry about collecting all of the no nonsense. Personally, I just wanted the base story ones.
Mm-hmm.
What about you guys? Were you got get any of all the nonsense ones?
We didn't get all of them. We did keep duplicates when we had, we got all of the regular stories, but if we had any duplicate numbers that said nonsense on them, we kept them. We do not have a full run on any of the stories for that, but we do have quite a few nonsense cards.
yeah, maybe
Nice.
10 across all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So this was one area that was, again, absolutely amazing, but something that they definitely need to do some tweaks for next year. Nobody knows exactly what happened, but I talked to a few of the vendors, and their theories were either A, the cards weren't shuffled correctly after they were cut and put into the pack, or after they were cut before they were put into packs, and 2, maybe they didn't receive all of their shipments of packs because those there were a couple heralds, and then 49 to 54 of all the decks were just really hard to find.
Mhm.
Slim pickings.
I'm pretty sure we heard from somebody who is higher up on the pecking order of all this, but they said that they did miss some shipments, actually.
Gotcha.
So they were behind on that, but you can hardly do anything about that.
Right,
about
this is
it.
not that whatever happened, that's not Dragonsteel's
Yeah.
fault. But it's still kind of also added on top of the passports just another layer of stress. There were also panels I missed because I was like, I gotta go
Find cards.
trade to find these cards that we're all missing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we ended up getting 3 full stories, but we're still missing a couple of heralds.
Mhm.
Yeah, I also got all the stories, but am missing, I think, 4 or 5 of the heralds.
Yes, I think I got all the stories, but I missed quite a few heralds. I do got the shiny
Yeah.
9 though.
That was sick.
Heck yeah.
Shiny
That was
9 and 9.
sick.
Let's go.
Mhm.
But I think this is an amazing idea, and I'm really excited for Dragonsteel in the future, because what other stories are we going to get? Brandon also talked about licensing this out to other cons so that they could use the story deck name and create something similar for their cons, which I think is really
Heck
cool.
yeah.
So definitely, again, something that needs some tweaks, but an amazing idea.
And I mean, right now it was just con exclusive, but it will become available to open general public here in about, what they say, a year and a half.
Yeah, I think so.
So I think it's really neat that they give like the sneak peek, the preview, the pre-release, as you'd say, to the people who are really dedicated fans who wanted to be there, who wanted to be at the very start of everything. But then, people who come later, they don't miss out on the opportunity. They can get into it if they want to. So,
Yeah.
Still waiting for them to put out some more of those story deck card binders.
Mhm.
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up. We literally we went to go buy binders. They'd sold out just an hour before we went. It was insane.
Yeah.
which speaks to how popular it was.
Mm-hmm. Well, do we want to move on to panels?
Real quick, actually, before we
Oh,
do
yeah.
that, just another note about the story decks. For anyone out there who is an avid pack cracker, if you play... That's not... that came out wrong.
What are you talking about?
Phrasing.
Cross his legs.
You open a pack of cards, it's cracking a pack. I was just...
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The Ku Klux Klan's the original pack crackers.
No.
Oh,
I didn't
No.
know.
I thought we were
talking about ball sacks.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
That's
so much worse. Sorry.
Oh,
What is happening?
Hey, we do not support the Ku Klux Klan in any
No,
way.
we do not.
We do not.
Actually, we hate those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that we've explored the breadth of the human imagination, back to pack cracking. The texture on those, just the packaging of the cards. If anyone has never opened a pack of cards, you should, because it's a wonderful feeling.
Mhm.
Let's go again.
These ones were awesome. I loved the
Mhm.
way like the glue was strong enough so that the pack actually tore instead of just the glue separating and you kind of having to fiddle open the hole on the top and then like slide out 2 or 3 cards at a time. It was great. I really appreciated the
Durability?
of it. Yeah, it made it really satisfying. You had to put a little force behind it to crack them open.
I feel
Hell
like
yeah.
the cards themselves had a really nice feel as well.
Yeah, they were really thick. Not flimsy at all.
Yeah, they made those like strong art cards. So
Also, we gotta shout out the Yasna Feet guy. He
Oh
got,
my
he got
God.
360 of those bad boys.
yeah, there is a man. If you aren't aware, there is a man out there who is collecting specifically the art cards from the Yasna story, the Else Color story, that on the back of a card have the part of the picture that makes up Yasna's feet from one of the pictures. So to each their own, but
each their
that
own.
is a lot of that
We're
card.
not gonna make that mistake again.
Real dedication.
Didn't you say that he has like one picture completely assembled and then the
Yes.
rest is just Yasna's
The first page
feet?
is the entire picture of her. This is specifically cards 1 through 9 of the Else Collar story. And then, everything else is just card number 7 from that story.
That
Which
is
also, if you're
ridiculous.
looking to collect, it's card number 7.
Which I've told these guys, again, sorry for bringing it up here, but I was so mad when I saw it because it was the third from last of that specific picture. And so I thought that would have made it 52 if it was the last
The
of
very
it.
one. The
I
very
was
last
so mad. I was like, no wonder nobody can find this card.
That would have
Because
been
this man.
that would have been rough.
But it was just number 7, so it was okay. It was okay.
Oh.
Anyway, panels.
Moving on.
I loved the panels. That was what I enjoyed most about the con, for sure. A lot of them were really good. Some of them were not as good, but that's okay. I loved the format that they did of the questions that were kind of proffered by the people talking to the panel, and then they answered it, and then them opening it up to Q&A. I really loved the panels. There was so much like knowledge gained from going to those. They were really good.
Yeah.
And for the most part, everybody, like at some cons, they kind of have filler guests, like C-list YouTubers or whatever. For the most part, everybody was a professional and very competent about what they were talking about.
Yeah. Connected in some way to Sanderson's works or to the genres applicable or whatnot. And I feel like they titled them in a non-misleading way as well. So you kind of knew what you were getting into, or you went and at the start of it, you would know. And if you didn't want to be there, then you could leave.
Yeah. I will say, I think there was only one panel I went to that I was like, oh, this is not at all what I was thinking. But that was one out of, they probably had close to 50, probably. So I felt like it was really good. And we mentioned the passports earlier. Something I really loved is each room, this is where the planets were that you could get most of your stamps. So there was a Roshar room, a Scadrial room, a Nalthis room, and a Lumar room. So every panel you went to, after you left, you could get a stamp just saying like, oh yeah, you went to Lumar or Roshar. So that's kind of how it worked for the main stamps, which I thought was a really great incentive to get people to go to the panels.
Yes. For sure.
Those stamps were so cool.
They were.
I love stamps.
Yeah, I know we talked about how it was kind of stressful to gather stamps, and sometimes you had to prioritize some things that you would rather prioritize something else in order to get the proper stamp. But I think the way they represented those worlds on the stamps was really neat. And I don't know, like some people would really like if they stayed the same every single time. I liked that the stamps changed colors.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'd go to Lumar and you'd get a blue one. Sometimes you'd go and you'd get a brown one. Sometimes you'd go and you'd get a red one. You just never know. I thought it was cool.
Yeah. Did you guys have a favorite panel?
Yes. Let me think of what it is. I do remember. I have a least favorite. You want to hear? Me and Jerry were there for that one. But I'll try to remember my favorite one. Y'all go ahead.
I was about to say mine and Joey's might be the same one, actually.
I'm trying to remember if there was another one that I liked more than that one.
Because you and I went to...
Riding fight scenes.
Oh, that one was really good. It's not my favorite one, but it was very good. I was talking about...
Neurodivergency.
Neurodivergency was good. I was more talking about the mental health in Brandon's works.
I love that I got it wrong twice.
No, okay, but seriously, those were the top 3 contenders for me, though.
Yeah,
so
those are... I think... Y'all go ahead. I'm going to think a little bit.
Yeah.
I think my personal favorite... Well, it's hard to choose a favorite because I really enjoyed several panels for a lot of different things. I'm going to say between 2.
Yeah.
The first one was creating... There was an adjective and then monsters. And the whole panel was 3 artists. Kari Christensen, who does magic. And then... Oh, I forgot the other 2. Anywho, all 3 of them were given a prompt at the beginning. They rolled a d6 5 times to get like the area and like whether or not it was organic material. They got like 6 descriptors to draw a creature. So the whole time they're doing that, we're getting to see on the screen as they talk about their creative process. That was awesome.
That does seem really cool.
Yeah, and very impressive what these awesome artists can do in like 45 minutes, make an entire scene. And 2, the Rhythms of Roshar. Both of these were at Nalthis. Nalthis was a heavy hitter this con. That one was a lot of fun. I actually got to get up and ask a question. It was a really long question, so maybe we can like type it out and add it to the description or something instead of me going through it here.
Yeah.
But that was a lot of fun because I'm a musician and I got to listen to all these people from, there was an Indian lady and there was someone from New York, and they were all giving their different perspectives on just the music of Roshar and how Navani discusses it in Rhythm of War and their own personal interpretations. Super, super cool. Nerds, wet dream.
Real.
Okay.
Just to give the title, I looked at it. I think it was Designing Iconic Fantasy Creatures.
Nice.
I think I got exactly 0 of those words.
No, you got creatures.
Yeah.
You got creatures.
One of those.
It's creatures.
1 out of 3. That's pretty good.
It was enough for me to be able to find it on the schedule. So
There you go.
and it was in Nalthus.
I'm gonna list 2 as well. My favorite was was the Brandon spoiler Q&A, which I won't talk about because it was a spoiler Q&A, but that one was fun, and there were a ton of times where the audience went crazy because we got some really cool info. But then I think my other might have to be the perpendicularity panel and how they work, because I mean I knew what a perpendicularity was. I did not realize, however, that all of the perpendicularities were connected to a specific god. Like, I thought they were something that just manifested because of the investiture that was on the planet, not because of the god that was on the planet. So I thought that was really cool and fun to learn about.
Oh, I didn't know about that. That's cool and fun to learn about right now.
Yeah.
I didn't either. So I have a follow-up question to that.
Yeah.
Is the Well of Ascension ruin or preservation's perpendicularity?
Preservation. And do you want to know ruins?
Yes.
It was the Pits of Hathsin.
Hell yeah.
Wow.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, right,
That
because
makes a lot of
Kelsier...
sense.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, we're allowed to talk. Because
Yeah,
Kelsier destroyed the pits.
Mm-hmm.
That, yeah, very cool.
Yeah, and there's everyone's read Secret History, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Hoyd complains about Kelsier destroying the perpendicularity there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, after he kicks the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Oh my word.
Yup.
That was such a good fight.
The rivalry
Oh.
between those two.
Hoyd literally saying, like, yeah, this is just your mind making up the pain. If I really wanted to hurt you, I could, after actually winning the fight.
Insane.
Seriously, though, like, it's giving I'm not touching you energy.
Which is such a Hoyd thing.
Like, he is such a mischief maker.
Real. Kylee, favorite panels?
Yes, actually, I really also enjoyed the creating the creatures one. I followed along with them while they were drawing, and I drew to the prompt as well. It was a lot of fun, and it actually was very insightful because, I don't know, it makes it sound like they were just drawing the whole time, but they were like actively carrying out the panel, talking through their design process, talking through what it takes to work with a client and to throw out options for them and have them thrown back in their face like, no, this is not what I want, do it this way, you know? And it was really interesting because at the end, they all presented their works and they all looked so clean and professional, and they drew them in 40 minutes while they were talking us through the whole design and creation process. I was like, I don't know how they can focus on that much at once and make it look so clean. It was astounding. I had a really good time in that one. And then I had a really good time in both the mental health panel, so mental health in Brandon's works, and the neurodivergency in Brandon's works panels. I think both of those, it kind of went hand in hand, but I think I was already astounded with the representation in Stormlight specifically and Mistborn specifically that Brandon has written into his works. But in talking about it even more, like, there's just stuff that I didn't even think deeply about. And I'm like, man, there is so much to connect to. There's so much humanity represented in Brandon's works. And I think that's why his series have been so successful, is because so many people relate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the amount of planning this man does and research and this and that and the other, he is just like constantly devoting the utmost care to this world that he's creating, and it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
You can also see the progression, I think, of his representation getting even better.
Oh, yeah.
Because,
We were there.
Josiah and I went to the neurodivergency panel, and they actually had several people who were neurodivergent, and they had several people who were mental health professionals on the panel. Is something happening?
There's the birds outside. They're going.
It's winter. You can hear the geese migrating.
The geese are screaming.
Geese are
Sorry,
yelking.
sorry, it got me off track.
Yeah, I was like, what is that?
It's like somebody's phone's going off. But you can see the progression they talked about, and this is slight spoilers for Elantris, so just keep that in mind. It was a spoiler for me.
That's okay.
But I won't give names or anything. There's a specific character who shows some very stereotypical representation of a specific mental health disorder that several of the people on the panel had a problem with. And it was earlier on in Sanderson's writings, so it was very stereotypical. And several of them were like, this is the worst way he's represented in the whole Cosmere, because he's done a phenomenal job in almost every other book. And I think part of that is because of the reaction of people to that specific character.
I think I'm going to go ahead and spoil, because you've already been spoiled, and this is slightly important. The character in Elantris is supposed to be autistic, and he just repeats numbers. He's like 30, 40, 29.
One of us, I see.
Yeah. Except he's basically seen as non-functioning, as aside from saying numbers, which was very Hollywood autism at the time.
Well, and part of the problem was the whole being fixed thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like he was, once the curse was lifted, which is the main plot of the book.
A curse that gives autism.
Yeah. Once the curse was lifted, he was like,
are we living in Elantris?
oh, I need to fix some stuff.
Brandon, bring the cure.
But once he was quote unquote fixed, his mental state got better, which one was talked about in the mental health panel a little bit, of like things just don't get a snap fix.
Yeah.
Why I do spoil that is because as now we have Renarin,
Right.
you know, in Stormlight, which is, it's just a wonderful way of seeing the growth Sanderson has had as a writer
Yeah.
from that kid to Renarin. I don't even remember his name.
Well, and Renarin is the one from Stormlight, but he also has representation, I think, throughout the Cosmere of several different mental health. And one of the ones that is a more autistic-leaning mental health is Steris. Steris from Era 2 Mistborn.
Oh, yeah.
And so...
Yeah,
Sorry.
I was kind of getting, I wasn't sure, but I was kind of getting the vibes.
The
Yes.
progression that you see from that character in Elantris, which was like his first foray into the Cosmere, and then you see representations like Renarin and Steris that are of the same kind of mental health struggle, but they feel more informed and better represented. You can just see how seriously Sanderson takes it.
Yeah.
And how seriously he takes the concerns and feelings of his audience into mind.
Yeah.
Well, my favorite panel, if we're ready to move on.
Tell us. Speak those sweet words directly into my ears.
Writing captivating characters.
Yeah.
That panel completely changed how I view storytelling, because it was so focused on character, which I've kind of been, that it really awakened, quote unquote awakened, because I'm a storyteller. I love telling stories. It brought the idea to mind of like world building is supposed to build into character, and the character is supposed to build into world building, and like all the pieces are supposed to fit in conjunction like a puzzle. They're supposed to build each other up, which I was like, what? That's crazy. Who would have thought of that?
Indeed.
So this is how stories are made. But so that was just really good. But writing fight scenes and mental health in Sanderson's books were just so incredible. Writing fight scenes also contextualized how fight scenes are supposed to be written, and like that's changed how I've started doing D&D stuff. It's definitely changed how I view fighting in general and violence in stories. And so that was incredible. And then of course mental health was just really wonderful to see how they take care to actually represent it, and how it's not just a snap fix. It is a time. It takes progress. You know, at the end of these characters' arcs, they still deal with their struggles, but they've healed from it in a sense. They kind of they know how to live with it now.
Yeah, there's no like cure. There's ways to learn to deal with things, and you do get, quote unquote, get better. But I think it's frustrating, at least to me personally, when you read a story and by the end of it, it's happily ever after. They don't have to deal with these things anymore. It's not realistic. It's not, I don't think it's very fair to give your audience that kind of a thing when that's not at all something that you can come to expect in the real life.
Mhm.
So I think Brandon does that really well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Can I? I'm
No.
sorry, I'm not trying to dominate the airspace, but can I throw out an honorable mention?
Yeah.
The panel in Roshar Hall. It was the end of the second day when they went over all the RPG stuff.
Oh,
The
Mm.
Cosmere
Mhm.
Oh,
TTRPG.
yeah.
redacted?
No, that
No,
No.
that was the story deck. Sorry.
My bad.
I'm not gonna say too much about it. For reasons, but it was super cool getting to look at the art. I don't know if like I'm just more sensitive visually nowadays, but I feel like I've just been really blown away and impressed by the art specifically involved in the Cosmere. Howard Lyon, Steve Argyle, Kari Christensen, Miranda Meeks, insert any other, Don DeSantos. Incredible art. So many cool and fun things to look forward to in the future, especially for the TTRPG spot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you were right. It is just the Cosmere RPG panel.
Which comes out next year.
Yeah.
So hype.
Looking real forward to it.
We
Mhm.
got on board the Kickstarter train, and we got stuff coming, including the special dice.
We did spend
Mhm.
like $500.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dragonsteel did something really cool that I haven't really seen other cons do. There was a quiet room for people that were overstimulated.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
There was a
Mhm.
board game room, and there was a craft room.
Mm-hmm.
What did you guys think of these?
So good. So good.
Very good. And appropriately sized, each of them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Before we go too far down this, can we go way back to the beginning where we were talking about the stamps?
Yeah.
Because that line on the third day was ungodly.
Yeah.
For anyone here who has been to a convention center, it was literally half and then double the length of the convention floor.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is it stretched halfway across the length of the floor, and then people were bunching up, so they had us go into like the turnstile area of the registration.
Mm-hmm.
That entire thing was full also. It was like
Yeah.
a 300 linear foot line, thousands of people. Insane.
Yeah.
It was also full for like several hours.
Yeah. Almost all of day 3, there were people in that line.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a long line. It was a little ridiculous to sit through.
Which that's something else just that they can tweak for next year. The Silverlight Mercantile was way too small
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
how many people were just going in and out. And they just never done it before, so how are they supposed to know?
Yeah.
Right? So I think they definitely deserve some slack. As long as next year they make it a little larger. If it's the same size next year, we'll have a talk, Brandy Sandy. Okay.
Which I'm not sure if this holds bearing on like Stormlight things and Cosmere things,
Mhm.
but I think they could almost set up a couple different
Ooh.
mercantiles just so
Yeah.
that they could keep the lines in different places and not bunch it all up in one spot.
Actually, no.
Well, that's why. Now listen. That's why I said I don't know if it holds
Mhm.
bearing that there needs to be one, or if they could have it in a couple different places so they don't flood the main space. But
Hear me out. I think they just make the entire vendors section Silverlight Mercantile, right? And then they could have a couple of these specific rooms to go get your packs,
Mhm.
and then the vendors could still be part of this like fun little
I think that'd be cool.
RPG they're having in the con.
Yeah. LARPing.
Yeah.
LARPing.
Anywho, sorry for the detour. We
No,
can
that's okay.
continue.
One
yeah.
last detour,
it was
sorry.
it was a good point to bring up though.
Do you guys have my you see that thing back there? July just got a really cute Chol.
Chul.
Yeah, we have it.
We have your Chul.
I need it.
It's in
I-
our game room.
Need it.
We meant to give it to you yesterday, actually.
I've been
but
depressed without it.
We were up late and tired and
To
not
steal a
paying
man's
attention,
soul is to steal a man's soul.
Borrow. Borrow.
a
We intend to
banger.
give it
To
back.
borrow a man's soul.
Is to borrow his soul?
ever since.
But no, I think before we go to board game rooms, just because you brought up the mercantile, we should talk about vendors.
Mm-hmm.
A couple things I would like to talk about is budget.
Mhm.
Going into the
Oh.
con, were you able
Oh.
to stay at budget, under budget, spent more than you were supposed to? Let's talk.
I spent so much more than I was supposed to. I have no money left in my account. Can't afford gas. Can't afford rent. No, I'm just kidding. I don't pay rent. Can't afford.
Must be nice.
Anywho, I'm broke.
Yeah.
$0.
I spend about 250 more than I should have.
Damn.
Yeah.
Kylie and I, for the convention specifically, technically we were over budget, but we say on our tattoos, we got group tattoos, by the way, while we were all there.
Mhm.
So cool.
So cool.
They're all hella dope.
Mm-hmm.
Kylie and I saved enough money on tattoos that we actually came out under budget for the trip.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's half of us. I like those odds.
Yeah, maybe next year we'll be a little bit better about it.
I was just going to say, it's one of those things that's like, when you go to events and things, everything's going to be expensive. Food and merch and everything. You need to plan for things to be expensive. That being said, there were actually quite a few things that I thought were more in affordable budget. There were just things that were expensive if you were looking to spend more money.
Mhm.
So I feel like for a convention experience, it actually wasn't as like convention tax heavy as I thought it might be.
Yeah. For example, the dice, there were people there who were selling little piddly, like $5 acrylic dice that look cool, all the way up to there was a dedicated stand for luxury gemstone dice, and they were selling sets for like $150, $200, $300. And I feel like it was pretty consistent, well, aside from the lightsabers, but every other like variety of item that you could want that's like generally nerd adjacent, I feel like there was a price and quality range there that kind of fit everybody who wanted to participate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like the vendors themselves did a lot of interaction with the people walking around. Like there were ways to get discounts, and there were a lot of like business cards being handed out like, hey, if you find us online, you can maybe get this a little bit cheaper because it won't be at the con and we won't be selling things and having minimal stock. There were a lot of really kind, honest people just trying to get people to interact with their products and their stores and generally have a really good time. So I appreciated that.
Which I'm glad you brought that up, because that's going to segue to my next question. I don't want to talk too much about the vendors because it's just vendors selling stuff. But something they did, we've been talking about the stamps, is like, I'm going to say a rough maybe half, maybe a little less than half the vendors had stamps for your passport that you could go get. Now, I've seen a lot of people debating online if this has helped or hurt the vendors, because on one side, people did make sales that they probably wouldn't have if people weren't forced to go to their stand to get stamps. Counterpoint, it created a lot of lines and a lot of just like people bulking up to get stamps. And a lot of people were just, myself included, ran in, stamp, ran out, didn't even look at the stuff. So what did you guys kind of think on how they handled the stamps for the vendors?
I feel like as an idea, it's not a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
I think for the space they had, they just needed the lanes to be wider.
Mm-hmm.
I think all four of us in this group struggle with some overstimulation type things. And that was to the detriment of us not sticking around whenever there was a big flood of people, because we didn't want to be stuck in a big flood of people for a long time. And that meant that those stalls that were involved with the stamping and passport stuff, you know, it helped with some of their business. It hurt for some of their business. I also think that it hurt some of the stalls that weren't involved in the stamp stuff, which I felt was a little bit unfair, potentially.
So I kind of agree with what Kylee said. In practical application, that's how it turned out. So it was an optional thing, a volunteer thing. Mm-hmm. So if the shops wanted to participate, they could take on the Silverlight certified thing.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so it was volunteer only. And I think really it's not so much like the concept in and of itself should not be judged for its merit, but how the vendors decided to implement and capitalize off of it. Like that guy, Eldon Thompson. He was Silverlight certified, and he, the whole day, was sitting there signing people's books, shaking people's hands, and giving people a free copy of the first of a trilogy that he wrote, the Ukinhan Wilds Warder. I'm not sure if that's the name of the book or the trilogy, but that was a smart way to capitalize off of like so many people coming. Like, okay, I'm going to have 600 copies of my book that I'm going to give out for free, but it's part of a series, and if these people like them, then really I'm making 1,200 books worth of money.
Yeah, and he also gave out a coupon for book 2 and 3 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think the people who did stuff like that, like Queen's Closet made you subscribe or this, that, and the other, I think was an intelligent way to implement the Silverlight certified stamp.
Yeah.
Get more interaction with their stuff.
Mm-hmm. And then some people just like set the stamp out there on the table and was like, I don't want to have to worry about this, and I don't want my wrist to be ruined after a day of stamping stuff. So
Stamp yourself.
Stamp your
people
own.
do it themselves.
Yeah. So you're right. It was optional, but I don't know if it should have been. I think they should have given all the vendors a stamp. I think that would have helped promote going to more vendors, and I think it would have, there being more vendors that had stamps, made getting that blackout a little less stressful.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't the biggest fan of it. One, because I was very easily overwhelmed by all of that, and was like, oh my goodness, I have to go find where the stamps are. But also, I just don't, if the purpose was to try and help people with their business or like their vendor, I don't necessarily think that gets it done, unless, like Jerry was saying, you know, that author did a really good job of like, oh, I'll hand out some free books too. And that's cool. But for everyone else, that's just like, oh yeah, I'm just going to stamp you, then you can leave. If it is more incorporated to where, oh, you got to get a stamp, and while you're there, they're going to, oh, there was this really cool thing where for one of the dice rolling stamps, they stamped you, and then they had you roll a d20, and depending on what roll you got either reward or something bad happened. And that was really cool. I was like, this is really neat. I'm going to stick around and actually look at their stuff. But for other people that were just like, here's the stamp, they stamped it, and then you left, it was like, why did I do that? I just, it was kind of an extra thing I have to do that has no real benefit outside of filling up this book.
Yeah.
Which I think, I don't know, I almost want to say that's partially why they made it optional to be a part of the Silverlight. Like, some people don't want to do that amount of crowd interaction.
Yeah.
Some people are just like, I want to let my merch stand up for itself. If people want to come see my stuff, that's fine. If they don't, I don't want a huge crowd around. I don't want people crowding my booth to get something that is not my wares. And that's totally fine. Like, that makes absolute sense. And if you're more of a crowd interaction type person and you want a big group around, that makes sense to get the stamp stuff involved. So I think maybe that's partly why they made it optional for shops to choose to be part of it or not.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you mentioned that we all got tattoos. Would everyone like to say what their Storm or Cosmere tattoos are? I guess technically all of us did get Stormlight, but
Well, Mom.
well, right, yes.
Oh, you meant all of us.
Yes,
here.
all of us here got Stormlight. Jerry's mom got a Nalthus tattoo, a Nalthus flower, and it looks really good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry.
I'll start us off.
You go ahead.
I got the quote from Rhythm of War. Honor is not dead so long as he lives in the hearts of men, in the Alethi's women script on my left pec.
Sorry.
And I don't
Very
know.
cool.
I really loved I really loved that line, and I'm so glad that I got it.
It's hardcore.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is dope. I thought you were going to say left boob. I apologize.
Yeah.
That's why I
My
was
left
laughing.
Booba.
Indeed.
But no, that is super cool.
And Elijah can read and write a Lethe. Super awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, go check out his channel.
Bad man.
And
Good
if
scholar.
you want to read and write the Lethe Women script, go check out my YouTube channel. I'll teach you how to read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We hate the Voron Church.
Don't tell the church.
I
Down
don't-
with the
Do not
Vorons.
tell the church.
I don't hate the church. I just disagree with the church. It's
Which is
different.
fine. It's fine.
But what did you guys get?
I got a Thunderclast, but in like a minimalist chibi style. He's holding a rock. He has a tree on his shoulder. A cute little guy.
It's really cute.
Cute little dude.
And he got it on his thigh.
Yes, we've dubbed him Thigh Dakar.
That's actually pretty funny.
He's
That was
so
Elijah's
cute.
idea.
Thank you.
I got a misspren on my right wrist. It's kind of just like from chest up, and the hair is very flowy. It's very cool. Don't know a name for the misspren yet. Anywho, Kylie, what'd you get?
So mine is actually several spren together, riding the wind essentially in kind of a little spiral on my thigh. I got some light blue leaves, which are joy spren, the small silver fish, which are laughter spren, little green orbs, which are life spren, and then thin blue ribbons, which are the wind spren. And I got them, riding the wind all kind of together in a swirl,
Nice.
just because they're all kind of happy and whimsical, and I like that.
Hell yeah.
Also wanted to clarify real quick. I got a misspren because I'm a truth watcher for the Radiant Order.
You
It
got
wasn't
a
just like
misspren.
a,
Yeah.
You're stinky little baby boy.
Oh, yeah? at least. I don't know where I was going with that.
Okay. Game room.
uh-huh.
Quiet room.
Uh-huh.
Craft room.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What did we think?
Quiet room. It's very nice. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that.
Every con needs a quiet room.
I feel
Mhm.
like there are so many ways in which Dragonsteel and Brandon kind of know their audience. They
Mhm.
know the crowd they're playing to, and they catered very well. There are definitely tweaks that can be made, but the Quiet Room edition was necessary for a couple of us.
Yes,
And-
very much
Deal.
so.
Like, with as big as it is, and we love that it's big and popular, there are so many people and so much going on. Sometimes you just need a moment where nothing is going on. And that Quiet Room was a godsend.
Granted, I haven't been to a con or anything like a big event other than concerts in like over a decade. Anyways, they were appropriately sized, which
Mhm.
I feel like is hard to get. And then just again, the amount of care that it shows for him, like taking the time. And there were puzzles in the Quiet Room and like small activities you could do by yourself and books that you can pick up and read. And the craft room, they had everything from crocheting to drawing. They would teach you how to paint minifigures.
Mhm.
Just all of the care and little nuances and small details that he paid attention to, or his event coordinator paid attention to, really just made the whole thing feel like a love letter to all of the Brandon Sanderson fans.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the board game room, I can't remember the name off the top of my head.
Detritus.
Detritus.
Yes, Detritus. But specifically, there was a board game shop in Salt Lake City that donated or let Dragonsteel borrow a bunch of their games.
Mm.
There's just this huge, massive wall of board games for people to go like find and play. They had tournaments going on. They had the Cosmere RPG, the Mistborn deck builder, and another like God Shard game that I can't remember the name of, like in demo, but specifically Cosmere games that you could go demo and play. It was just really cool. It was really cool and fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And like, I know we already talked about the passport stuff, but one of the things on the passport for Detritus specifically was, in order to get the Detritus stamp, you had to fill in several boxes, which were like demo a new game you've never played, or play with some people you've never played, or borrow a game you've never played. And it was just so I felt like it was a really good way to get people interacting with each other that wasn't awkward or uncomfortable. It was like, hey, we both need this stamp. This is a reason to do this. Don't feel weird about meeting new people. Like, we all like to play these games together. Do you want to do this so we can get our stamp and also meet new friends?
Yeah.
It felt like going to Hatter's just in Utah.
Yeah.
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 The people there were so kind and nice, willing to engage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I loved the effort that there was a clear effort that, Sanderson and his team were taking to get people to talk to each other. Like, I remember him saying with the release event that the whole point of the story decks is for people to interact with each other and to trade cards with each other. I thought that was incredible that, they didn't just get everyone at a con for the book. It was just so that Sanderson mans could meet Sanderson's feet. Could meet Yasna's feet. It all goes back to Yasna. But I love that the con was like, Sanderson was trying to give way for his fans to meet each other and become friends.
Yeah. And actually, I feel like Detritus was one of the better ways they did that, but it wasn't the only way. Like, the craft room actually did that too in a really good way. As we said, Mom went with us to this, and she and I were in the craft room, and she was starting the crochet of Cheery Cheery, which was one of the options they had. And there was a girl behind us who was trying to crochet and having trouble with the pattern. So we all kind of talked it through and we were trying to figure it out. And we got to meet really cool people who were interested in the same thing as us. And we tried to collaborate on it and followed her on Instagram because she makes really cool stuff. I'll try to find her and we can shout her out later. But yeah, it was just really cool to be in a space where it wasn't pressurized. Like, it felt very natural to help other people and get to know other people.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've got kind of 2 more topics, but are we done with these 3 rooms, or was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
We're done. Finished.
Okay, this next one will be a quick one. Favorite cosplayer?
Ooh.
None of them. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I can go
That's hard.
first, 'cause I know mine. Her handle is Edge Dancing Through Life on TikTok. Go check her out. She went as Urithiru. Like, literally.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
shoot.
So
It was
good.
so cool.
And she was like so cheerful and excited the whole time. Every single time I came across her at the con. So good.
That's cool.
Okay, now your guys' turn.
I feel like Jerry's just itching to say something right now.
No, there was a lot of there's
Seth.
so much boobs and ass.
Oh.
There just was.
So much.
It's just what you have to expect at con.
It's a con. Yep.
Mhm.
Seeing Syl with cleavage, I was not ready for it. Okay, I just had to throw that out there. I think it was Doug number 7 and Doug number 8 that had the shard blade that had, it was like professionally made,
Mm-hmm.
or shard plate rather. Shard plate, of course, also, but it also had the lights in it. Kylee got a picture with them.
Yes.
The one that had like stormlight leaking out?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that was sick.
So
cool.
Whoa.
It's like we're married or something.
I have 2 because I just can't pick. Marsh. The Marsh cosplays were incredible.
It was so good.
Of the Mistborn spoilers, if you care. The Marsh with the spikes through his eyes,
Mhm.
that was so cool. And then the other one was there was this singer woman.
Yeah.
Y'all remember when we first got there? But
That
she
was
like
gonna be my answer too.
she had like actual
prosthetic stuff.
prosthetics. Like it looked like carapace like on her skin. It was very cool, and the pattern was neat. Like her whole skin was covered in her. She just looked so alien, which was really cool to see in the cosplay. I was like, wow, I could definitely believe that you were an alien race that was crab people. You look like a crab person to me.
Which even more props to her, because that was the first day when we went to get our badges. That was early in the morning. She was in front of us in the line.
Mhm.
She had to have woken up so early to get all of that done and get in the line that early. Like,
Huge props to her.
dedication.
Yeah. Real.
So cool. Well, she was kind of my answer, but
That's
I'll
okay.
but I'll give an honorable mention. There was someone walking around dressed as a stick,
Mhm.
and they had a sign on them that says, "I am a stick." And then the back of the sign says, "But you could be fire." I thought that was hysterical and a really easy, cost-effective way to still cosplay at the con and be funny. Like, not everybody can afford. In fact, good example, there was a college student there who had a really sick Stormlight gauntlet.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, "Wait, why only the gauntlet?" And he was like, "Well, I'm saving up for the rest, but I'm a poor college kid. I can only do one piece at a time."
Yeah.
And I was like, real.
Real.
And so seeing
real.
the guy with the stick costume, I was like, now see, there you go. There's ways that you can definitely be a part of this world on a budget. And I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
So.
There was a couple who turned their baby stroller into a chol.
Yes.
And that
So
was
cute.
amazing.
That's incredible.
Anyway,
So creative.
Sorry, you go.
Mine was, there's this dude dressed up as Kirito from Sword Art Online.
So good.
I just thought that was incredible that, there's Kirito there amongst all the stuff.
Hell yeah.
Which, I mean,
There was a Jawa too, just walking around.
they're Worldhoppers. Like,
Yeah.
seriously, you could
big
dress
ones.
you could dress as whoever you want to be a
Kirito's a
Worldhopper.
canonical world hopper now. I just
Real.
thought that was really funny.
Okay, so last big topic. Worldhoppers Ball 2024.
Let's go.
We got to go. Luckily, we all got tickets at the same time. We went to the very last session. So that was Saturday night.
Best session,
9:30
too.
to midnight.
And it was amazing.
So good.
So much alcohol, so much drugs. It was an incredible
well,
party.
I did all the Rosharan drugs. You know me.
I'm
Crushed
just
up
kidding.
a
There was no
white
drugs.
spine shell.
Oh
Snorted.
no.
Okay. My only complaint, I want to just get this out first. I feel like the hall. Okay, I have two complaints. I wish the hall was a little bigger. It was
Same.
kind of hard to see. Like the dance floor was kind of small, and they had like actual performances at the ball. It was really hard to see those.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I kind of think it could have gone a little longer.
Yes.
It was a little hard for us because we went to the very last showing on the last day, but I think maybe another hour maybe would have been nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
But those really are my only complaints. Besides that, it was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
They killed it decoration wise, and everybody was dressed up so wonderfully. I think they just knocked it out of the park. And honestly, I have the same thoughts as you on things they could have improved. I think a bigger space would have made it easier for everyone to see everything.
Mm-hmm.
Or even if they had had it a video going of the dance
Oh,
floor
yeah,
and
that
had
would've been
screens on the
nice.
side so
Mhm.
that the people who couldn't see could see.
Mm.
I think that would be helpful. But also, I feel like we were all like, man, 9 to midnight, that's going to be a lot after a whole day of con. And by the time we were done, we were like, it's over?
Yeah.
It's already over?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of crazy.
There was no slow dancing either, which
No.
every Worldhopper Ball is going to be in a different planet, a different event. This one was spoilers for Oathbringer, I think. Shallan and Adelin's wedding, which we heard about but didn't actually get to see in the book, which was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So Jerry, Jojo, and I, we all had made a plan that their mom didn't get to go, so we were all going to make sure that we danced with her at least once so she could still get to dance even though her husband wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Not a single slow dance.
Nope.
Not a single one.
Dang it!
In fact, they had the characters all dressed up and they did several, theatrical things.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only quote unquote slow dance was for the characters in character.
Yeah.
That was it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else was a little bit more party vibes.
Heavy party vibe.
Which was, just to be fair, so fun.
Oh,
Mhm.
so
So
much fun.
I do have a criticism. The DJ, if you're listening to this, you found your stride. You hit it. You did great. I would hire you for an event. If I had left after an hour of listening to him DJ, I'm not sure I would have had the same
Yeah.
It was
the
a
same praise
rough
to offer.
start.
And there was there was a transition between songs. It just wasn't happening. I don't know if he needed a minute to find his groove or whatever. But there was this one song they were transitioning from shut up and dance to a different song. And they did like the slow down and repeat whatever, and it just kept saying sex, 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 sex.
Yeah. We were in a line and everyone was looking around like,
Yeah.
Waiting for
Okay.
the beat to drop on sex number 25 in Mormon country.
was an interesting choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Lots of
man.
throwback music though.
Yeah. I was really surprised by the song list, and it was good, and I really enjoyed it. But I was also really surprised because I was expecting more, not that it would all be themed music, but at least some.
Mhm.
Yeah, the themed music was like at the very start before the DJ started doing his thing.
Yeah, and it was all like slow guitar covers of still modern
Popular
songs.
songs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I think fit a little better for the whole like fantasy wedding vibes. But I was surprised. But honestly, once you hit the dance floor, did it really matter? Right?
Yeah,
Oh
That's
my words.
kind of where I was at. I loved the environment and the setting. Like all of it was made so. Like in the line to get drinks, you could burn prayers for the
Yes.
the newlywed couple, and so that was really cool. I was, if you could do it right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Wait, I'm sorry. No, we can't just skip over this.
Jerry, tell your story.
All right, so they have the ink pad and the stamp. So you put the stamp on the ink pad and then onto the piece of paper that they give you.
Mm-hmm.
I put the piece of paper on the ink pad and then I stamped it.
Wait, but did it work?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's all that matters.
It's just like one half of the paper, like one side of the paper is stamped in ink now. And also the front has a stamp on it.
It was very smeared. There was a lot of ink on that piece of paper.
It's the thought that matters.
It's hysterical.
I do love that.
And I swear the ardent that was attending the table rolled his eyes at me.
I didn't even realize that was supposed to be an ardent, but that makes so
Yes.
much sense. Yeah.
You know what's even funnier is we were walking up to that table and Jerry was like, in character, Alethi man. He said, "Oh, no, wife, you do it. You do it because you know the women's script." And I said, "They have it prepared for you." And then he still
It is
did.
glyphs, dear.
He was just in character. Yeah, he's
And
like,
he
oh,
said-
so you put it into the ink
Yeah,
and then you.
yeah. So I felt like it was in character because he was like, "Fine, I'll do it," and he did it, and then he turned around and he goes, "I messed it up. I did it wrong. Wife, I did it wrong."
Oh, but the environment was great. Like all of it was great. You were drinking the quote unquote Alethi wine the whole time. Most of it was non-alcoholic.
Yeah, they were mocktails.
Yeah, mocktails. I'll say this is, I don't know if this is going to be a hot take or not. No, I don't think it will be. But I was kind of disappointed that it was so party-ish vibed. I was kind of, when they said ball, I thought it was going to be slow dances, very like elegant music, very, like you're in a fantasy world. But it was more of, oh, these are people pretending to be the people. It's very funny. It's very goofy. And yeah, once you got on the dance floor, it was a ton of fun. I will say it was just slightly disappointing, but not enough to like complain about or anything. That was just,
See, that's why I
see.
thought like another hour would have been nice because they still could have done a lot of fast songs, a lot more like party,
Mm-hmm.
and then mixed in some slow songs in there.
Which I think may be part of the way that parties naturally devolve into like mosh pit and conga line style stuff, which both of those things happened.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think you start off the evening with the slow, more in
And then you
character.
build up. Yeah.
And then when it devolves to people have already drank all of their wines and all of their stuff, and we already did all of the in character things, then you can start doing mosh pits and conga lines and all the things. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. To the woman whose foot I jumped on 3 times.
Oh my
I'm so
gosh.
sorry. I'm so sorry.
it's the risk you take being on the dance floor.
Oh, I regret taking my satchel. I had like a satchel that I took because I was like, oh, it's going to be cool. It's going to be in character. I could leave it somewhere. Had to carry that thing while I was jumping up and down.
Yeah, because
Such a big
there were no
mistake.
tables.
Yeah.
The floor itself was
moved.
warping.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
We were
insane.
jumping so much. It was crazy.
I think that was a little bit spooky.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, I hope that they don't get in trouble for this because we're being rowdy.
It was a good time.
It
Let
was-
me tell you what.
It was fun.
Okay.
It was fun.
The set design, phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
my God.
Absolutely.
Oh my god.
Not what I expected either. I feel like whenever I thought about their wedding, I was thinking more winter vibes because Colin blew.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, it's all going to be very clean, very pristine, very, and no, it was like bright, vibrant reds and oranges and lively colors. And I thought it was gorgeous.
And also very dark. It was very
very
dark in there,
moody.
which I liked a lot because it didn't feel super stimulating. So that was really nice. But I also, as well as the setting, the dances were incredible. Like they had this part where the spren came out and they did some.
Oh, yes.
I don't know what the official dance is called, but it's like where there is it's kind of like aerials, some aerial dancing. That was incredible.
My jaw dropped because they were just spinning.
I know.
They
I was
were
like,
spinning.
And
They were going.
There was like no hesitation, no collision. I did not, if they messed up, it didn't show because nothing looked like it was out of place. It all looked perfect.
I remember watching and was like, this is what true art is.
It was.
It was beautiful. I loved it.
They did so good.
I swear that one girl was hitting like 10 to 20 rotations per second.
Yeah, it was insane.
And then the other
frame rate
one,
dropped or something.
the other one who broke into the splits in the air, that was wild. I was like, girl, if you fell, your legs are going to snap in the wrong direction.
And when they like tied their legs together kind of and they used each other to spin using each other's momentum, that was so cool too. I was like, they trusted each other to it's so cool.
Think of the hours and hours they practiced for that. Like phenomenal.
Yeah. Walking in was also really cool. Like
yes.
so it was all very roleplay, LARPy. You walk through and there's the gate sprins. And it's as if you were going through Shadesmar, through a portal into the wedding, and you walk out and there's more gate spren, and that was really cool. Like, it set the mood immediately.
Oh, yes. The beginning hallway from going, like, standing in a line and that short segment before you actually entered the ballroom was so, like, fantastical. It was very, like, there was a lot of glowing purple lights kind of hanging from the ceiling. Like, it was like, whoa, it felt very magical. It was very cool.
That tunnel was gorgeous.
It was. I think if they do it again, they should get actual solid, still soft wood, but the inflatable plastic spears during the kata choreography was it was so hard to take seriously because the choreography and the actors or performers were doing a great job.
Yeah.
But their spears, whenever they would hit each other, would just flop over and give each other a little hug and then straighten back out.
Yeah, see, I didn't even know that because I couldn't see it.
I didn't know that either, but that sounds hilarious. They're like all serious and that's just an inflatable spear.
Yeah. The only reason, I feel like the only reason I saw that was because people were videoing, so they had their phones up high and it was like watching it on a screen.
Yeah.
What I should have done is just videoed it so I could actually see it.
Yeah.
Notes for next year. If you need a way to pay for all these notes, just kick the price up $50 a ticket. It's for a nonprofit, so it's all fine.
Yeah.
I think they should expand into an actual ballroom, have an actual dinner. People can still serve themselves, but make it like a 3-course thing, have tables, a dedicated spot for everybody to go sit down.
They also need an autism dinner.
Elaborate.
What? Mac and cheese and,
And dino nuggets.
and dino nuggets.
That would be. That
It's
would be
Worldhopper.
Make it themed. Give us a chasm fiend nuggets.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Well, and
Dude.
you could write it
Yeah.
off as Worldhopper. We got some food from a different world. Like, oh, no wonder you don't recognize it. We got it from somewhere
But
else.
sorry, just
No, you're good. And last thing I would say, I think it would be really cool if they actually had a live band.
oh yeah,
That would be cool.
It would be.
Mhm.
And not for the whole thing, but just
some
like
of it, yeah.
the first bit when everybody's walking in and eating, you can have some, orchestral music and then kick the DJ on.
Yeah.
Or like orchestral music for the first hour and a half so people can eat and slow dance or whatever, and then kick on the DJ.
And real quick, just talking about food. I know that some people had some interesting experiences
yes.
with it.
Yes.
I personally loved it. I thought it was very tasty, very good, very new and interesting, but I really liked it a lot. I know someone in this room
who may or may not want to be named may have gotten food
someone was
poisoning.
pooping his pants on the way home.
I do plan on telling the story.
It was Jeremiah.
I guess if now is an appropriate time for that, yes. I think, okay, I don't know how allergies work, apparently, so maybe it was an allergy, but I had the spicy stew, which was rice and shrimp and crab and some other stuff that I can't remember the name of.
Delicious.
So we went to bed at like 12:30 with a 15-hour drive ahead of us the next day, losing an hour coming back to Texas, mind you. And around 3 o'clock, I woke up and threw up, and then went back to bed, and then woke up and threw up again, and then crapped myself, and then
He pooped himself.
it was bad. So from like 3 to 7, basically, I was back and forth on both ends on the toilet. And then the entire ride home, which the next day we drove like 11 hours, I was fevering.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
It was
I didn't know you had
rough.
I didn't know the fever part.
Yeah, I could not get warm for the life of me. And then we finally got warm. And then these guys needed to go to the bathroom. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll go to the bathroom too. And my teeth were chattering for the next 3 hours because I was so cold.
I'm so sorry,
Which,
Pookie.
just for reference, he's the warm one. Like, I'm always cold, and he's like, turn the AC back up. No, this time he was like, the heat, please.
No blood in your body, all in your head.
All in my head,
Gotta get you a heated blanket.
Yeah.
honestly.
It was pretty rough.
Which didn't detract from my experience because it was still the most incredible convention I've ever been to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I will admit that the price, it was $150 per ticket. So I felt like that was a little steep. However, we all got to come home with a Worldhoppers Ball goblet, which
Oh,
they
yeah.
were selling for like $50. So I mean, that was already a third of our ticket anyway.
Yeah.
So now that I know that information and have actually been to the ball and got to have a great time, I feel like $150 was a very fair price.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. Food was included. A couple of free drinks were included. I mean, you got the performance experience and everything. I feel like it was
Yeah.
pretty fair.
I'm gonna preface this by saying I don't think like predatory marketing tactics is okay, but the Worldhopper Ball was also directly associated with the Lightweaver
Mhm.
Foundation, which is
Mhm.
their charity, not nonprofit organization. I feel like it's okay. Like I would pay up to maybe $50 extra to go to an event purely because it's a charity event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
Which I'm glad you brought that up because we didn't talk about it, but they had like charity events going on all weekend too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That also all went to the Lightweaver Foundation. So I went to a good cause, and I think that's hella cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was really good.
Well, anything else on Worldhopper or just Dragonsteel Nexus in general?
Do we want to talk about what info was dropped at the Worldhopper Ball? Or is it too soon?
I think it's too soon. What I will say is we did get some major lore confirmation at the ball, but I think it's something that may get revealed in Wind and Truth. So I think maybe we should hold off.
All right. Secrets to come.
Secrets.
Secret.
If it doesn't get revealed in Wind and Truth, I will say might be kind of crummy.
Yeah.
Because it's like a one-time exclusive thing that not even half of the people that got to go to the convention got to go to the ball. And that's not even, that's like a fraction of the Sanderson fans. So if it doesn't get revealed in Wind and Truth, I mean, it kind of reminds me of the Fortnite event where they revealed that Palpatine came back before Star Wars Episode 9. Like, how are people who didn't play that one-time event supposed to know?
So this is the thing we're talking about. I won't say anything, but it is a fan theory.
It is a fan theory, yes.
So it's a confirmation of a fan theory. Won't say which one, but it was very cool.
Yeah, I think I agree. If it's not revealed, it's just like you canonized it. Like you signed off on this being a thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then the people that didn't go don't get to be privy to it except through like people talking about it online.
Which
So I think he will.
I've seen multiple reels of that moment and people
So
being
it
like,
got out there, yeah.
it's out there and people know about it, but we can, try and
Yeah.
not spoil it if we don't want to.
We talked about it last week. Whenever we're all done, we are going to do a Wind and Truth spoiler cast, but
Yeah.
that's in the future.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that's all I really wanted to talk about. It was amazing. I loved it. I know we all kind of had some complaints, but I mean, it was just so good. It was so good, and I'm so glad we got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we certainly don't want anyone to like misunderstand us. We do have criticisms because we're very critically thinking people, and we're always trying to think of how we can improve experiences. But like Elijah said, just there were criticisms, but overall, I don't know how much better they really could have done.
Yeah.
Like as a singular event and then something that they can improve on in the future, incredible. 10 of 10. Would go to every single Dragonsteel Nexus if I could.
Because like that's the real answer. Would we go again? Every single time we can.
Yeah.
Because even with the small criticisms we had, like even if they don't address any of that, we're still going to go. We're still going to have a great time.
Yeah.
Like it can't be perfect for everyone all the time, but that doesn't mean it wasn't phenomenal.
Yeah.
I agree. It was amazing. Most of my complaints were like centered around my own stuff. So I think as a convention and preparing for what they could prepare for, they did an incredible job. Would recommend. And I'm sure all the things that like were rough, they're going to fix.
Yeah.
For next time.
And so this is the biggest convention center in Utah. However, they did not get access to the whole convention center. So they could only sell, I think it was 7,500 tickets. This is the biggest Dragonsteel Nexus yet, and hopefully with it being sold out next year, they can have access to more convention rooms or halls, even if they can't get the whole thing again. My whole point to this is it was really hard for people to get tickets this year. Hopefully next year, it'll be a little easier.
Yeah. And just for anybody who's curious, it was called the Salt Palace in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Also, talking about Salt City Barbecue, that was the best mac and cheese I've had in my life.
Oh, my
we didn't even
goodness.
talk about the food.
Oh my God.
They killed
oh my
it.
God.
All of the food vendors killed it at that con.
I take exception with the people who were selling like pizza slices for $10 a slice.
That was
a little predatory. Yeah.
that was a little bit much.
On the other hand, I loved those pizza slices. They were so good.
Do I think it was predatory?
Yes.
Did I pay those prices to get some sauce? Also, yes.
All I'm saying is $10 worth of pizza is a whole pizza.
Yeah, it was insane that it was one slice for $10, but
Yeah.
man, it was so good.
That was where the con prices went. But
Yeah.
I feel like like y'all said, the Salt City Barbecue did really good. The K-Bop place did an incredible job.
I'm
They had a
so
boba
mad.
place that was really good.
I didn't get to try that place either.
Oh, they killed it.
Yeah.
Next time.
In the
Next
end,
time.
what you get is like, I feel like the prices for almost everything were pretty fair, given that it was a convention. There were some that were more expensive, but there were affordable prices.
And this convention, which I know not every convention does, did let you, I mean, they didn't check your bag, so you could bring your own snacks and water and stuff in. So
Yeah.
it's not like you
Oh,
had to
God.
pay $10 for pizza.
Yeah. Being able to bring just a
Mhm.
bag full of water was just a nice thing to not have to worry about.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to tell the people about Wayne?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So day one, we're waiting in line before the convention has opened to general public. We are waiting to get our admission stuff and our tags and everything. And they had people from the convention dressed up as different characters from the worlds interacting with the crowd before the lines opened up because, people were just waiting and being bored. And so they were already doing crowd involvement. They had a lady who was up on like a pedestal singing and playing music inspired by the Stormlight Archive stuff. They were playing games, like they had a Yumi and the Nightmare Painter game, which was Pictionary, but it was a lot of fun.
Nice.
And then they had a guy that was dressed as Wayne, which is from Era 2 Mistborn. And he was walking around with a massive D20, having people roll. And if they rolled well enough, he would make trades with them or give them cool merch. And if they rolled low, they had to give him something from their bag. And I actually got to participate in that, and I rolled a 12. So he said, okay, that's middle of the road. We'll have a trade. I will trade you a piece of merch or one of my dueling canes for something from your bag. And so we traded him a D20 that we had because we are dice goblins and have millions of D20s. And he gave me one of his dueling canes, and I got to carry it around for the rest of the con. It was like such a really sweet, cool little thing that added so much flavor and character right off the bat to the con, I feel like.
Yeah.
It set a very good tone.
Also, since Kylie's the queen of luck, you should probably also discuss how you got dragged out onto the dance floor.
Oh my gosh, yes. So they were all dancing and having a great time. I mean, the actors that were the characters from the book.
At the Worldhopper Ball.
At the Worldhopper Ball. And they moved from the dance floor like to the entryway so they could open up to the people who had been at the back of the crowd, which I was one of those people. And so I turned around and I found myself from the back of the crowd into the very front line of the crowd. And the guy who was playing Adolin pulled me out into the middle and danced with me. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is actually happening. I've been chosen for crowd participation. And it was really sweet. He was just so jovial and everyone was having a great time. And he spun me around and spun me back out to the crowd. And then he pulled a young lady who was in a wheelchair out, and she was just so ecstatic, having the best time. And he danced with her and wheeled her around. It was phenomenal.
He started, I hope not to undercut the sweetness of that moment with this, but he started like swinging her around in a circle, and I'm like,
yeah, it was
calm down, man.
Not gonna lie, for a second it was pretty nerve-wracking because I was like, does he know what he's doing? Please don't spill her out of that chair.
Yeah, and I'm sure it was fine, but the first thing that went through our minds,
please don't spill her out of that chair.
Yeah, that would be terrible.
But he did it. And it was fine. And she had the happiest look on her face. I was like, man, I really appreciate the care that they've taken, how much they love the fans, how much they really want to encourage the fan base and the inclusion. So that was a really wonderful experience.
Also, they thought about the lore. The actor for Kaladin's hair was short, and the first thing I said is, that's not lore accurate. Where's his long hair? And like one of the first lines Adolin says to Kaladin, he's like, hey, I really appreciate that you cut your hair for this wedding. So good. Anyway, fantastic time.
Yeah, wonderful. If you're not a Brandon Sanderson fan,
you should be.
You should be. You can be as involved as much as you want. But if you want a fandom that is like dedicated to aftercare, for lack of a better word, he and we are going to take care of you, baby girl.
And also, I feel like it's phenomenal. They only had like one panel session for it, but they had one that was like at the edge of the Sander fandom, living with people who are Sanderson fans, but not being one quite yet. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the fact that they had warnings outside of panels, like there's spoilers ahead. If you're not caught up, if you don't know, if you haven't been a part of this fandom up to this time, please don't come in here if you don't want to see spoilers. Like they were very careful, I feel like, with catering to people who are in different parts of their Sanderson journey, quote unquote. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if you are new to the fandom and you think it sounds really cool, or you're being dragged along by people who love Sanderson, there are still plenty of things to do that would be fun for people who are not fully into the fandom.
And I don't know if we like specified this at the beginning, but for the panels, yes, obviously a ton of it was Cosmere and Sanderson themed, but also a ton of other authors got spotlights and they got their own panels, or they got to be a part of panels that were over certain subjects. And that was really cool too. So while this is a Sanderson thing, it is not a purely Sanderson thing.
Yeah.
I got to go to a panel with Robin Hobb.
Oh, so good.
Same.
I text my brother-in-law immediately. He was quite jealous.
Yes. I think his words were, that woman ruined me in my childhood, and I loved every second of it.
I'll pull it up right now and read it to you.
Hey, those are private conversations.
Read
Not
us
anymore.
everything.
He wouldn't
Give us
care.
his social
We
security
haven't-
number.
We
Why
didn't.
don't you?
We didn't name him, but I don't think he'd mind.
He said that lady traumatized my teens, loved every second of it.
Heck yeah.
Robin Hobb was, I do realize I didn't put a face to the name, but she was one of my favorite authors listening to. She had such a nice voice.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hmm.
she is a wonderful lady. Gives off really sweet older lady vibes.
Yep.
And her books are wonderful and will traumatize you. So just
Yes.
read them probably.
I will.
Okay, I think that's all for today. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
if you're still listening to this, like, congratulations. This is a long
Congratulations.
episode.
we ranted a
Long
lot.
Dude,
episode.
you did it.
Dedication.
You get a thank you from the four of us. I'll go first. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And if you want to keep hearing content like this, keep coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Read. Okay. For nerds only. Goodbye.
Just a little extra for you.